Good afternoon, how's your day been? Welcome back to Gooner Fanzine TV. I'm absolutely honoured to have a very special guest in Alan Smith, someone I used to watch as a kid, play for the Arsenal, someone who's a really, really well-respected broadcaster and journalist as well. Thanks so much for your time, Alan.
Pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
It's all right.
We're obviously going to talk about Amy Lawrence's book, 89, Arsenal's Greatest Moment, and a bit about your career as well. But first of all, I've got to ask, in terms of you signing for Arsenal, I was actually at the game, that famous game when you were still a Leicester player, but you'd signed for Arsenal and you played against Arsenal while a Leicester player at Highbury about sort of April 87. I think Arsenal won about 4-1 that day.
I was surprised we got the one actually. Although I do remember Reece Wilmot was in goal. John Lukic must have been injured or something, and he made a point blank save from a header from me at the North Bank end, and that would have been quite good. But we got absolutely hammered, and I ended up in an embarrassing. I mean, I didn't want to play. I asked Gordon Milne at the start of the week, our Leicester manager. Obviously, Gaffer, I'm not playing on Saturday, am I? It's against my parent club, and he said, "Yeah, of course you are, Alan. We're desperate for the 3 points. That's why I went back on loan to try and avoid relegation." But so, just going down there, you're dreading it really, just because of the awkwardness of it. I remember seeing Kenny Sansom doing the tickets in the little passageway between the dressing rooms and that, and he went, "All right, yeah, like that." And then when the match started halfway through, the Leicester fans started singing my name, and the North Bank heard that, and then they started singing, so I'm clapping both ends, Got a bollocking off Gary McAllister for doing that. It's a vital relegation match. But I was glad to get it out of the way anyway. And it was nice to go back there, with a red and white shirt on.
Absolutely. I just remember that day because you just looked a bit confused as to who to wave to when they started singing your name. But I suppose there can't be too many players who've had both sets of fans singing their name.
No, I suppose the North Bank thought, well, he's our player, you should be singing his name. So they started.
Absolutely. Your debut for Arsenal was August 87, I believe, against Liverpool. I remember it had been a really hot day.
It was.
54,000. There was probably another 10,000 outside that day.
Yeah, there were people sat on the top of the North Bank, I remember, sat on the top of brick walls in the corner, and it was a boiling hot day. I've never liked playing in the heat, really, but it was a massive day for me, obviously. They had John Barnes, Peter Beardsley as well making the debut, so big day for Liverpool. And we got beat 2-1. I'll never forget their winner, Steve Nicol. Free kick came in, I've headed it out. I think it's a decent clearing header. It's gone straight to Steve Nicol, and he's just gone, and he's just gone arrowing into the top corner. It was a weird. He scored with a header from about 20 yards. Such a weird goal, but they were probably the better team on the day. It was a disappointment, but you never forget your debut. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on that header, I don't think I've ever seen someone score with a header from outside the box. It was ridiculous, wasn't it? Yeah. Steve Nicol just put his big head on it. And it flew off that forehead of his, but. They were a top team, Liverpool, weren't they? Obviously with Barnes and Beardsley adding to it, John Aldridge, scoring all the time, scored at the North Bank end that day. They were a top team. So, when we beat them a year later, it tasted good. Absolutely.
We'll obviously get on to that, but just in terms of, obviously you signing for Arsenal and playing that day, making your debut, was there a sense of you're at a big club now, obviously?
Yeah. I noticed the difference straight away when I came down. It's just training. You're playing with better players, training with better players. We'd do little one-on-one exercises. Quite often I'd be up against David O'Leary, so the gaffer would serve me the ball and I've got to take him on. I always remember David, he'd never dive in, he'd always usher you down a blind alley type of thing. He was such a clever defender. Yeah. And, just the standard of training had gone up a couple of notches. And then when it came to match day, you could feel the pressure and the added scrutiny. Obviously got the London press, so there's much more interest in Arsenal. It's a bigger club than Leicester, obviously. And the big thing that hit home, I hadn't scored for 3 games, so we'd played Liverpool, Man United, QPR. I don't know if it was QPR, Man United, but we hadn't won.
Yeah, and then it was Portsmouth, wasn't it?
Yeah, but not the best start. And I'm sat in the treatment room one day, Gary Lewin's doing his bits and that, and I picked up the Sun, and on the back page it's Arsenal go for Kerry Dixon because Alan Smith hasn't, he's failed to ignite. And I thought, blimey, it's been 3 games. at Leicester they wouldn't bat an eyelid about that, and that I thought, wow, yeah, it's a big club, and you're expected to perform from day one.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously after those 3 games, I was at all 3 of those games, and Arsenal didn't play particularly well. I think Charlie Nicholas, that was one of his last games, that QPR away game.
Well, I remember we sat down at London Colney. Sun was shining. Gaffer said after training, sit down, lads. And he went through the team for Portsmouth, and he said, I'm going to leave Charlie out, and I'm bringing in Perry Groves. And I know Charlie feels hard done by because he felt we'd have beaten Portsmouth anyway, and there's a fair chance he'd have scored a goal or 2.
Yeah.
But as it turned out, he didn't play again.
Yeah.
I played with Groves for a little bit, and then Merce and everything. And Charlie, after a few months in the wilderness, went off to Aberdeen.
Yeah, absolutely. Just on that Portsmouth game, I think they'd got promoted that season. There was thousands of Portsmouth in the clock, and I remember that day. But you obviously got a hat-trick, and that was your first two goals.
Yeah, there was a bit of a mistake with the keeper and the defender, and it just came to me, and I think my first goal, I just stabbed it. It might have gone through the defender's legs after that. I don't know. It was a bit of a scruffy goal, but it was at the North Bank, So that meant a lot. You're off and running. Got a good header up the other end. Can't remember the third, but to get off the mark and get a hat trick in front of the Highbury fans took the pressure off, and you're no longer thinking this is going to be tough. Your confidence gets a big lift. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what was it like under George Graham? He obviously signed you, and it must have been. I mean, it always helps when the manager signs you. Yeah. Because he rates you, and he's going to give you the benefit of the doubt sometimes, if you're having poor games, he's invested in you. I cost $750,000, which wasn't breaking the transfer record, but it was a fair bit of money, it was a major signing. The tea's arrived. Do we want to...
Oh, yes, please, yeah, perfect, just here, it'll be fine, thank you.
Thank you.
That's great, thank you very much. Yeah, so George Graham, yeah.
George, as I say, I mean, if he signed you, that means you're his player.
Yeah.
Somebody like Charlie Nicholas, for example, Charlie probably wasn't his type of player, but he hadn't signed him either, so a bit of a disconnect there. So he was very good for me. He was a forward himself. He was a renowned header of the ball, and he used to give me heading tips, and he used to, Alan, use your net muscles, something like that, and he'd walk along like a chicken telling me how to head it, and we'd all kind of take the piss behind his back. But very good tactically and in terms of movement. And, we did a lot of shadow play. I mean, training wasn't always enjoyable, but it was the case of, come a Saturday, we all knew what we had to do and what our individual roles were. Obviously, you're looking at today's team and you're not entirely sure that's the case. So, the Batman worked on the back 4 until we were all blue in the face, because there was like me, Merce, Brian Marwood, and the midfield lads, Rocky, serving us, trying to get past this back 4. And, we rarely did. If we got past and scored, we'd be doing, cartwheels, because they had such an understanding. And they'd moan about it. They go, oh no, we're not doing back 4 work again, are we? But of course, you go out on a Saturday and you're loving it, because you're keeping clean sheets, where your man is alongside you, you're working as a unit. And so in those first 5-6 years when we were winning things, all was great. It was just the tail end for me when he's a harder man to please, and he's getting more agitated and bad-tempered, and the bollockings are getting harsher, and that's when it obviously tailed off. But all the players will say he was a top manager, a top coach, rarely missed training. If he'd have probably missed training once a season, and he'd gone to a funeral or something, and on those occasions we'd all go, oh, the gaffer's not in tonight. We can just relax. But when you saw him running around the corner from the dressing rooms, that familiar little run of his, and you go, oh, here he comes, we better behave ourselves and get our heads down.
Fantastic. What was he like in terms of offering praise if you did well? Was he sparing, or did he just praise you if you did do well?
No, he did. I mean, it was sparing, and he'd quite often have little one-to-ones, I remember the League Cup final when we lost to Luton.
Yeah.
I scored, but we obviously lost. But he took me aside after and he said, "No, I thought you did well today, Alan. That was my first season, and he'd invested a lot in me, so he wanted me to do well." But No, he did say his well dones, but not too many. If you got a well done off him, you knew you were doing well.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on obviously the Luton League Cup final. In the build up to that run, there was I think Arsenal won at Sheffield Wednesday. That was a decent result, and then it was Everton in the 2 semi-finals.
Oh yeah.
And that was sort of February '88. And those of us at his vintage, I was at those games, and Highbury was rocking for those nights.
I do think that was probably the noisiest I'd heard Highbury.
Yeah.
Before or since then.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned that Liverpool game, people locked outside. I think there were 7,000 to 10,000 locked outside that night because afterwards we went into the dressing rooms, hanging out the window. Avonall Road was absolutely packed, and we were waving and everything. But what an atmosphere! And I scored. Mickey Thomas scored. Rocky missed a sitter, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I don't know if he scored after that. But it was a big result because they were a good team.
Yeah.
With Neville Southall and Sharp and Peter Reid, I think, and all these players. Really good team. And they were tough lads as well.
Yeah.
We were quite similar, maybe, in many ways, Arsenal and Everton back in those times. But it meant a lot, And I think the home leg was first, wasn't it? And then we went up to Goodison.
Was it 1-0 at Goodison and 3-1 at Highbury?
Oh, okay. So Grovesy got the only goal, I think.
Because that was the first leg.
That gave us a little bit of a cushion. But we all remarked when we came in, that was definitely out there. It was brilliant. Yeah.
And around that time as well was obviously the Man United 5th round game at Highbury around sort of February '88, which some date the sort of the antipathy of Arsenal and Man United. Obviously, it goes back long before that as well. But at the same time, that was a sort of modern rivalry, or the start of it, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah. Another packed house.
And
I'd been having a bit of a tough time, and I scored at the North Bank end from Nigel Winterburn, a little cross with his left foot, I think it was. From a short free kick, but again, a really feisty game, and they were another tough side. Stevie Bruce I was up against, and Brian Robson, Brian McClare. You had to scrap to beat them, and then of course with the penalty, it all kicked off with Nigel and McClare, and that carried on for a few years, but. It was just a shame we didn't get to the cup final that year, and we got knocked out by Nottingham Forest. I think, didn't we?
Quarters. That was another big.
They did a number on us. Yeah. Ryan Rice, I think, he scored, but Cloughie's Forest did us. But it was a good one for me because I had a really good game and got the goal and kicked on a bit after that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I was in North Bank that day, and you see footage of it, and the whole North Bank went up as one when McClare's penalty sort of went over the bar. But I've interviewed Nigel Winterburn and a few others from that side, and no one will ever tell me what he said to McClare, and I don't suppose you're going to either, are you?
I don't know. He's not told. Well, Nigel will tell you. There's no harm now, is there? Whether he put him off or not, I mean, it was wild, that penalty, wasn't it? Ended up at the back of the North Bank, so did the trick. Yeah, absolutely. Good answer there as well. Good dead back. In terms of the final, obviously, I was at the game along with a lot of other Gooners that day, expecting to get a result. And Luton obviously trying 3-2 in a game that still scars me to this day. I don't know how you feel about that, but what was your take before the game to start with? Well, we're obviously favourites, aren't we?
Yeah.
Luton are a good side, with the Steam brothers and Danny Wilson, Steve Foster, Mick Harford. They had lots of good players. So we didn't think it was going to be easy, but you go in as favourites. We were in a commanding position, weren't we?
Yeah.
2-1 up. And I think we hit the bar after that, didn't we? But they just did us right at the end. We all know the story, and you're gutted. It would have been, obviously, Arsenal had won the year before. I was up in the stand that afternoon when we beat Liverpool. It would have been nice to. It would have been my first piece of silverware as a footballer, but it wasn't to be. But made up for it the year after. Yeah, absolutely. So the touch, obviously, talking about 88, 89, I should say. Amy Lawrence has obviously got a book out at the moment, 89 Arsenal's Greatest Moments. And she details that season in forensic detail on the back of the DVD and the film. We talked to Lee Dixon about it, and we went through that season. And what
what sort of shone through with what Lee was saying to start with was that pre-season, everyone was just, it was like a burgeoning of talents, basically. And you scored against Spurs at the Nikita at Wembley, so when we beat Spurs 4-0. And I remember going to a pre-season friendly at Birmingham City, and you scored up there as well.
Where, Birmingham?
That August. And we played Leicester as well. We beat them, I think, 4-1, 4-0. So was there a sense of we're putting something together here? Did it feel like that sort of August 88?
It felt like we've got something going because we've got, me, Lee, Nige, Baldy, from other clubs brought in hungry players, want to do well, want to prove ourselves at a big club. Then, of course, you got the lads coming through the youth team, Tony, Rocky, Mickey, Merce, Quinny, Hazy, so many. And that's what attracted me to Arsenal in the first place. You just sensed something was happening that was at the beginning of things. We were a tight bunch, we all got on well. Socialised a little bit as well off the pitch. And, we knew we could fight. If it was a scrap, we could look after ourselves. And we'd got some flair players as well. So I suppose, we went into that confident. We'd had a decent finish to the season. I don't know where we finished, but
I think we finished. Was it fourth?
We had a good run at the time. But I'm not saying we started that season thinking we were going to win the title, but we thought we had something about us. Yeah.
And obviously the first league game of the season was Wimbledon, that 5-1.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you got a couple. Did you get a hat trick? You got a couple of goals.
I got a hat trick.
You got a hat trick, yeah. Because I was thinking of the 3-0 a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
A couple of years after that. Yeah. How did that feel? First game of the season.
Brilliant. Yeah. I mean, they scored first, John Fashanu, and he sneaked behind Stevie Bold, and we're thinking, what have we signed here in Baldy? Allowing him to get behind him. Thankfully, we came back, and everything I touched really ended up in the back of the net. And it means a lot going to Plough Lane because it was such a shitty ground.
Yeah.
Facilities, the track, changing room, it was like something I used to play in for Alf Church in the league.
Yes.
The pitch wasn't the best. So it meant something because they did try and bully you, the old crazy gang. But to get a hat-trick was great, first day of the season. And then I never forget all the press waiting for me as I come out of the dressing room and wanted to talk to me, obviously. And they went, Alan, great result, hat-trick. You must fancy yourself to win the Golden Boot this year. And I went, you don't want to put your money on me. I said, Tony Cotty scored a hat-trick for Everton. He's much more like the sort. I play with my back to goal. I'm probably not that type, so I kind of played it down, and I believed it really. I never thought I would win a Golden Boot, never in a million years. But any striker will tell you, to get off the first day of the season with a hat trick, dream stuff.
Absolutely, yeah, you're right. And Cotty, I think you got a hat trick against Newcastle for Everton first game of the season, and he was flying. But obviously, you got your hat trick too. The next month after that, it was a North London derby. Talking to Lee about that, he just said it was really scary, but it was more scary listening to people like Tony Adams in the change room getting hyped up before the game. What are your sort of memories of that match at all?
The 3-2 at one
time? Yeah, the 3-2 when Gazza's boot came off.
I don't remember too much in the lead up, really. I remember scoring at the far post. I remember the goals because I've seen them since plenty of times, and to win there, it meant a lot. I'm not a Londoner or an Arsenal fan when I was a boy, but you come into that squad and you got the likes of Tony and Pat Rice in the background, and George Graham, of course, knew all about it, and they're pumping it up all week. So it's a much different game to any other, and you go out there on the enemy's turf and you're desperate to get a result. So, to beat them 3-2, and Gazza, he was in that team when he got that goal when he's lost his boot and kicked the hoarding and all that. Chrissy Waddle got a goal, didn't he, as well? So they had a good team, but that was great for us, to win on their territory was big.
Yeah, I remember being in the way on that day. It was fantastic. It must have been brilliant on the pitch too. There was no quarter given either, was there?
No, it's good. It's good.
So that autumn, obviously Arsenal put together a lot of good results to come into Christmas and the New Year, challenging for the league, if not top spot. I remember playing Spurs in the return fixture in early January, and it was a comfortable 2-0 win. Was there a sense around that time that we might have a chance of challenging for the league?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, because we were in a good position. You look at the table, on a Sunday morning, the papers, and you're up there and you're thinking, yeah. I think Liverpool were always seen as our main rivals. Yeah. The kind of yardstick, if you can beat them, the chances are you're going to finish up with a trophy. But belief built, no doubt about it, yeah. belief was building and building because we were on a really good run.
Yeah, I mean, Amy's book talks about the Everton game that January '89, 3-1 victory at Goodison. Again, I was there. It was a superb performance from Arsenal. That got clapped off from the Goodison faithful, but there'd been a bit of sort of racist chanting against Rocky before that. Can you remember any of that at all, or were you sort of so focused on
what at Goodison?
Yeah, at Goodison. Yeah.
No, I can't really. I mean, Rocky used to be water off a duck's back, really, with him, and if anything, it'd make him more determined, you know.
Yeah.
Nothing would deter him. You know, in terms of the team, we came off and we went, oh, Goodison's just clapped us off, you know.
Yeah.
That meant a lot.
Yeah.
It meant a lot. Because they've seen some teams in recent years, haven't they, you know, title-winning teams. So that adds to the belief that you've gone there, got a great result and played good football, you know, for the locals to be impressed with what they'd just seen. So brilliant day.
I've got to ask about David Rocastle as well. What was he like as a teammate, a friend, and as a man?
Yeah, I mean, everyone will say he was a top bloke. He was a personal friend of mine, families. We will still keep in touch. We're very close now. Yeah, he was just a good lad. He was funny boy, you know. He'd always talk about the brothers, you know, the black lads and that. And he'd kind of joke about it in a way that just brought everyone together. Just had a lovely way about him, you know. Same part of South London as Mickey Thomas. They were close. We became really close. Met Janet, and then she had Melissa and everything, and we were just two close families. So, yeah, it's just tragic.
Yeah,
tragic.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I ask? I mean, what did it feel like when you heard the news that he'd sadly passed away in 2001?
Oh, Janet rang about 3 a.m, and then it was Spurs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I went along. I was just in bits. I was there for the Telegraph, and they wanted me to write something about the match afterwards, and I says, I can't possibly. I've got to write about Rocky, you know, write a piece on him. But yeah, it was really poignant, really sad.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, going back to the football, 88, 89, that sort of January, February time, there was that game at Millwall. I've been at a lot of Arsenal games over the years, and that was one of the most intense atmospheres I've ever experienced as a fan. I don't know what it was like on the pitch, but that was that famous game when David Ellery, the referee, was mic'd up. What are your memories of that game?
Not knowing that he was mic'd up for start off, you know. David Ellery not giving us the rub of the green.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us really, when we saw that he was reffing, we thought, oh no, it's the school teacher, you know, because I never felt he had a feel for the game, that he actually understood it. Very officious, you know, talk to me. Some refs you could have a chat with, have a little laugh and a joke. You're having a nightmare ref, and he goes, oh, so are you, you know, sort yourself out kind of thing. You just carry on. But we won. I mean, it was always a bit of an ordeal going there. You know, you talk about racist abuse. I mean, Rocky's had some there. The other lads have as well.
Yeah.
You know, they used to be penned in behind the wire, being spat at and all sorts. And so if you came out of there with a win, it meant something. You know, I mean, it was George Graham's place as a manager, wasn't it, with Theo Foley, so they knew what it was all about, and I think George took a lot of satisfaction from coming away from there with a win. Absolutely,
obviously, as you touched on him being a former Millwall manager, absolutely. Yeah. In Amy's book, that she talks about David O'Leary turning round to Tony Adams in the changing room after that result at Millwall and saying, we're going to win the league here, because if you win at places like this, it means you've got a real chance, basically. Was that, again, was there a sense of, we're doing something special here?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's another little building block, isn't it? You know, in that kind of belief and feeling that you're good enough, those kind of challenges, you know, you're not bullied, you don't have flaky days. You know, we didn't have many flaky days. If we lost, it was because the other team were better or we didn't play particularly well, but we were always giving it 100%.
Yeah.
So to go to Millwall and do what we did, you know, it was a statement.
Yeah,
it was.
Absolutely. Again, fast forward to April. Everyone knows what happened on the 15th of April 1989 with Hillsborough, but Arsenal were playing Newcastle that day. It was a really strange atmosphere. And what were your memories of that day?
Well, I was in the paddock because I'd fractured my cheekbone in training. Big Al Hannigan, a tough lad from inner London. I we were playing the youth team. George decided to have a little practice game at Colney. First team against the youth lads. Ball's come to me, I've headed it, and Big Al's come in there a second later and headed my face, and he's just collapsed. Theo's, come on, you okay, Smudge? Just carry on, aren't you? I went, Theo, my face doesn't feel right. And then it went, whoa. And I went straight to hospital, and they repaired it, but that meant I was out for a couple of weeks. So I was in the paddock for the Newcastle game, and go into the halfway house, the old players' lounge at half time, look at the telly, see that something's going on at Hillsborough, and I've gone up to the change room, told the lads I've got a bit of trouble there, a bit of crowd trouble. I reckon there might be some people hurt. Didn't know the details. And then obviously at the end it all unfolds. I went back in there and watched what was happening. So we've all gone home absolutely stunned, and I suppose it's only when you get home really and you're looking at the news that it all really properly hits home how many people were dead. We never experienced anything like it, I'm just thinking, is the season going to be cancelled now? Is that it? Nobody really knew. So then there was that little hiatus where, you're just waiting to have a reopening of the fixtures, just trying to keep going. But, God knows what it was like for the Liverpool lads attending funerals and that, it must have been so difficult. It was just such a dark time for football in general. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, like you say, football paid its respects. I think, like you say, it was a 2-week hiatus in between, and then it was Arsenal-Norwich on May Bank Holiday weekend at Highbury. Obviously, you scored against Norwich City. You scored a cracking goal from outside the box. What are your memories of that? Yeah, good one for me, actually. One of my best, I think. John Lucas just hoofed it, and I've backed into my man and kind of chested it, fired it round, and I've swiveled on my left foot and just hit it, and it's just absolutely soared into the net. Keeper hardly had a chance to move, 25 yards out. I didn't get too many of them, but that was a nice one. My second was a bit more kind of usual into a little poacher's effort, but it was a big game for us because obviously, everybody had been off, and you want to bounce back, hit the ground running, and we did in front of the ITV cameras, I think. Alan Parry was commentating, who I've since commentated with many times for Sky. The old inflatable bananas and all that were in the crowd, weren't they? That was when they were coming along with those. So that was a good day, Absolutely. Just in terms of that sort of game that then gave the springboard for the end of the season, or hope for a springboard, basically. We had Middlesbrough away the week after. When we were going up to Ayresome Park, and that was the atmosphere was pretty tasty there. And Tony Adams was getting absolute pelters from the Holgate end. They were throwing carrots and all sorts. Can you remember that game at all? Martin Hayes got a late winner that was proved to be a bit of a grind.
A
bit of not the best of games. Quite a hot day, I think. But again, our goal came from a long lukey kick, and I think I've just very slightly glanced it. Hayes raced onto it and scored. So big 3 points. We didn't play particularly well, but again, those scrappy, messy games are the ones you got to win, haven't they? And we did. Absolutely. And then that sets Arsenal up for Derby County at Highbury. And I think if Arsenal won that game and Liverpool had lost their game that day, although they were in a tremendous run of form despite everything. If Arsenal won that day, they would have been crowned champions, basically. So did you go into that game? Obviously, Arsenal lost 2-1 at Derby, and Dean Saunders had an absolute stormer of a game. But can you remember waking up in the morning of that game thinking, God, we could be champions tonight? Would it have been confirmed? Or I don't remember it being that way. It's obviously a big game. I can't remember thinking, well, we could be champions, but just never got going, really. Peter Shilton made a few saves. But Dean Saunders, as you say, he was on fire, and then afterwards he says, as a Liverpool fan, I hope that helps Liverpool win the league. I did get a goal, but we never looked like getting something from it. We've come off the pitch really down, and the gaffer's he's had to lift us a bit because he knows we've got to go again against Wimbledon, Yeah, absolutely. And that infamous Wimbledon game, 2-2, Paul McGee scoring on his debut, never been heard of again since. No, exactly. What was the atmosphere like for you as a sort of player who just seen his team pick up 1 point out of 6? Well, we thought, well, we've let ourselves down against Derby. Let's bounce back against Wimbledon. You know, they brought the old ghetto blaster into their changing room. We could hear it next door and all that. They kicked the door off its hinges afterwards. But they were typical, well, they were classic party spoilers, weren't they? Yeah. Party poopers, and so they really loved it. I mean, when Nigel scored that spectacular one with his right foot, you're thinking, wow, he never used to kick pass with his right foot, never mind about shooting and find the net. So you're thinking, here we go, but now they came back. And at the end of it, we did the lap of honour, the fans are clapping us. I think it's kind of an atmosphere, well, good effort, boys, you know. Hopefully next year, and we're kind of apologising, you know, sorry, we give it our best, that kind of feeling. Gone back into the dressing room again and deflated, and I think, you know, the gaffer lifted us. I think the chairman came in that night as well to congratulate us, last home game and everything, congratulate us on a fine effort. It was that kind of feeling, you know, and you've gone home thinking, what have we done? 2 games at home and we've got 1 point. What a nightmare.
Just on Peter Elwood, actually. I mean, I've heard that story, actually. What was he like as a person? Because he was very much old school, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. You'd rarely see him. He came down after the brawl at Old Trafford to remind us of our responsibilities. You know, you're playing for Arsenal, lads. We don't stand for that kind of thing. And he came down when we won something, after a few gin and tonics in the boardroom with his colourful socks on. He was that old Etonian, old school, you know, and hello, Mr. Chairman, how are you? You know, chairman's in the dressing room, no swearing, lads, kind of thing. So if he was there, it was normally a good thing. Normally that you'd won.
Apart from the Wimbledon game. So in terms of that, I think that was on the Tuesday, and obviously Liverpool beat West Ham 5-1 on the Wednesday. West Ham were really on their holidays, basically. In Amy's book, she tells a good story about Bob Wilson coming into London Colney and going, "Come on, lads, we're going to do this," and you're sort of just going, "Yeah, right," sort of thing.
I remember we were sat there and sat on the little benches that they used to have outside the treatment bit, and Bob had came around the corner and we were looking a bit downcast. He went, "Cheer up, lads, this is the week we're going to win the league." All right, Bob, tell us another one. I mean, I never forget the night that Liverpool played West Ham. I was at the football writers' dinner, and what's the score? You know, word kept coming in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know. And obviously journalists being there, they've worked it out. You've got to win by 2 goals. So you think, God. But then when you come into training and you think, 2 goals? Yeah, we can do that, lads. We can do that. Why not? You know, we're not thinking we're going to do it, but there's a fighting chance there. And that week, you know, when Bob came around the corner and said that week, George probably purposely lightened up training a bit. Because we had a bit of a longer spell, didn't we, until that Friday. A few more 5-a-sides, which he would never let us have, really, unless it was on a Friday at the end of the session. Kept it a little bit more light-hearted until, you know, I suppose you had to build it up until that Friday. Make sure we were in the right frame of mind. But, it worked, put it that way.
Absolutely. And I know you've probably talked about it a million times, but just George's sort of insistence that 0-0 at half-time was a good scoreline, basically, at that particular moment. Well, did he say that before the game? He did, didn't he, obviously? And
it was very much about the clean sheet, because, you know, if we do concede, lads, we've got to get 3 and that ain't going to happen. We're thinking, we've got to get 2 goals, you know, but he kind of took us away from that a little bit, and by doing that, I think took the pressure off, because we knew all about keeping clean sheets. You know, we can do that, you know, even though it's against Liverpool. So when we came in at half-time, we were downcast because we'd hardly created a chance. Baldy had the header. But again, he lifted us. I mean, first of all, before we went out, before the match, he sent us out in a great frame of mind. Wonderful team talk. First of all, in the Atlantic Towers in the hotel, when we came down for tea and toast, and then again in the dressing room. And he shook all our hands at the door, which he didn't used to do. And then we picked up bouquets of flowers and everything. And Chester pumped out, you know. We went out there knowing exactly our kind of game plan. But as I say, half time again, he lifted us then. Lee, Nigel, push on a bit more. Let's be a bit more proactive now, a bit more attacking. We'll get that first goal, then we'll get the second.
Yeah.
You know. So he just read the script perfectly.
And obviously your goal. What was your memories about that in terms of you obviously touched it, didn't you? We talked about this before, but
yeah. Well, it was a free kick that we used to practice so much in training. You know, George loved going through set pieces, and it never worked on a match day. If it had been on the other side and Brian Marwood was playing, he'd have curled it in with his right foot. Nigel on the right, curling it in swinger with his left. And it was always me, Tony and Baldy. I think quite often Baldy might have started at the front of the line and he'd peel around the back with me and Tony and bomb in. Tony, on this occasion, he went where he shouldn't have and he's flung himself at a player rather than the ball, creating a distraction. Maybe created a bit of space for me, and I kind of just sneaked in and glanced it. You know, I was in really good goal scoring form. I'd hardly had a drought that season. You know, hardly gone 3 or 4 games without scoring, I don't think. Grobbelaar couldn't do anything about it, couldn't get across. And then, of course, they've all surrounded the ref and with him. What's the matter? What are they on about? Johnny Wheeler was going like that, as if to say, I was offside and he hadn't touched it, whatever. And because David O'Leary was our only spokesperson, and there were about 5 or 6 of them giving it plenty, and you're thinking, oh, God, no, he's going to point to the empty area, disallowed goal. But when he pointed to the centre spot, you know, you're thinking, game on here, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've fresh life breathed into us, and come on, boys. But I think Anfield, noisy, deafening all night, but maybe the decibels raised even more then because their fans are screaming, you know, for their players to react. But they were in a funny mood that night. They got Hillsborough and they got the fact they could lose by a goal and still win the league. They never really hit the straps, you know. Yeah. And that was to our advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously Mickey had that chance, Mickey Thomas had that chance before obviously his second chance of the game as well. And he I think, did Grobbelaar make the same? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, he's toe poked it straight at him. He went through somebody's legs, I think, but he never got much behind it. He had to take it quickly, but decent chance.
What was your take on that? What were you thinking then?
You know, how are you doing? But, I mean, it happened to the right person because it wouldn't have bothered him. Other people would have been mulling over it for the rest of the match, but, you know, Mickey was so single-minded, so stubborn. I'll never forget once in training when the gaffers got us all doing press-ups and he didn't like the way Mickey was doing them. Maybe his arse was in the air or something. And he's actually clambered onto Mickey's back to try and get him to go down, his chest on the floor. And Mickey's just gone like that. He's as strong as an ox, and he's held the gaffer, who gave up in the end. You know. So, you know, when the final chance fell to him, he was never going to do it before. He was never going to shoot before he wanted to. You know, do it all in his own time.
Yeah.
But of course, we could all see the picture unfolding, thinking somebody's going to get a booting. But thankfully, they didn't.
Obviously, talking to Lee Dixon, he said he just burst into tears when that happened. What did you do? I'm trying to remember on the actual sort of events of the night. But what was your reaction when the goal went in?
Went to Mickey, but then he's doing his silly backflip with his neck, and I thought, you know, sod that, we'll go and milk it from the fans. So I've just peeled off, and Nigel went straight there, didn't he? So I followed shortly after, and going mad. I didn't cry. I've never felt like crying on a football pitch. Never. It's never got me like that.
Not even when you got booked in the '93 Cup final replay.
No. But yeah. Of course, then, you know, you're celebrating, but the ref's going, come on, lads, back in your own half. You know, there's still a bit of time here. You knew there wasn't much, but they had a chance to attack, didn't they?
Yeah.
And Mickey's dragged it out of the sky and passed it back to Lukey. And when he did pass it back to Lukey, you knew Lukey was going to kick it long this time. And I thought, if I can just get someone on this header, if I can prevent Alan Hansen from heading it back down the pitch, we've won the title. Yeah. I think it's just grazed my head and gone towards Grovesy and whoever. And then the whistle went. And, you know, obviously, just incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, there was a real bond there. Having sort of interviewed a few players over the years from that team, the bond's still there, basically. It's it was a real band of brothers, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, for most of us, it was our first big trophy. you know, some of the boys have won the League Cup, but Kevin Richardson, I think, was the only one who'd won the title with Everton without being a regular, you know, so this was different. David O'Leary had won a few FA Cups, but, you know, he was in tears at the end, wasn't he? Yeah. So we were all desperate to do well together and to get that big prize, so it was a magical moment, yeah.
And I know, obviously, you're a modest bloke, but you'd picked up the Golden Boot as well.
Yeah, well, I remember before the game, the Adidas representative was there, and he's poked his head round our dressing room, and he's gone, Alan, he said, would you mind doing a little presentation beforehand with John Aldridge, who was gunning for it as well?
Yeah.
You know, head-to-head, who's going to win the Golden Boot? Great thing for Adidas. I mean, really, I should have said, no, not tonight. Yeah. This is a big game. I don't remember George, the gaffer, objected at all, and I went, yeah, okay, yeah. And then he came back and he went, John doesn't want to do it now. I said, okay. And then he came back and he went, John will do it. Yeah, no, John's changed his mind to do it. I went, right, all right. And then he came back and again and said, no, John's not going to do it. So he was obviously a bit nervous. Yeah. And I got that goal. I don't know how many ahead of Aldridge I finished in the end, maybe two or three. But it was certainly the biggest goal I'd ever scored and ever would score in my career.
Absolutely. Fast forward a couple of years to 1991. Obviously, Arsenal didn't. I think they finished fourth in 89-90. You could argue the team wasn't built upon as much as it potentially could have been. But 1991, George Graham brought in. He brought in Andy Linnigan. But Dave Seaman, of course, yeah.
Anders
Limpel, yeah, absolutely. And that really refreshed the sort of nucleus of the 89 side, didn't it?
Yeah, because I remember coming in for the first day of pre-season, 89-90, and nobody really has come in. And you're a bit disappointed, really, because you want something to freshen it up, a new face, a bit of a challenge, and there wasn't much at all. So when those boys did come in, like Anders, quickest feet I'd ever seen. I mean, we didn't want Lukey to leave, but you could see that Dave Seaman was a step up. Yeah. You know, as good as Lukey was. Yeah. Andy Linnigan, you know, he couldn't now Spaldy and Tony, but he was a backup. So we were in a good shape, and I had a great relationship with Anders in the way I did with Brian Marwood on that side. Much different type of player, but he was my roommate then. He was a great lad. So. Dave Seaman, I mean, he only conceded 18, was it?
Yeah.
You know, and behind that back four, that was some unit, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the first game of the season was Wimbledon, the 3-0.
Yeah.
You got a couple, I think. I'm trying to remember, but was it one? Was it? Yeah, and again, that boded well for the.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, you're thinking, well, you know, hopefully it's going to turn out the same.
Yeah.
It did, and it was a more consistent season. Obviously, only losing the one, you could argue we were a better, more rounded team. We got the experience, to go with the talent in the team. So, we no hiccups at all apart from the Chelsea game. You know?
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say. I mean, there was that League Cup game, that infamous 6-2 United.
Oh, against United.
Yeah, Lee Sharp had the best game of his career, didn't he? That night.
He got 4, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, minimum 3, maybe 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I got had to. It wasn't my fault. Did my bit.
Yeah, but I remember we played Liverpool on the Saturday.
That's
and we won 3-0, and that was basically a sign of a championship winning side, because they just regrouped and kicked on again.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, God, I think Highbury was really shocked that night. But it was important to bounce back, and I mean, what better way than to do that against Liverpool, you know? Again, I think it was live on the telly, maybe. Mia Merce linked up for my goal.
Didn't he back heel it to you? Yeah.
That ended up on the start of Saint and Greavesy, which I was chuffed about.
Should have royalties on that, really.
Like that. So we were back up and at it, you know, League Cup, who cares?
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. And obviously, like you said, you touched on there, the Chelsea game, was that game, the 2-1 defeat? Steve Bolt went off at half time, didn't he? And that affected the sort of shape of the team.
Yeah, Dave Hillier went centre half with Andy Linnigan, maybe. Yeah. Just didn't happen. I think we still could have won it, but they did us on the day on a ropey pitch. I remember going in the dressing room afterwards, and the gaffers congratulating us for a fantastic run. Right. Okay, boys, that run's at an end. Let's go on another one now.
Yeah.
You know, there was no recrimination. There's no, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. it was great on his part, and that's exactly what we did. Went on another run.
Absolutely, and that was obviously good man management from George Graham too, don't you think?
Yeah, because we put so much into that season, and he wouldn't have been expecting us to go through unbeaten.
Yeah.
Nobody really spoke about it, did they? Obviously, with the Invincibles, it was mentioned by Wenger and everything, but I don't know if George would ever go near something like that.
Yeah.
So, we weren't far off.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got to remember that. I've got to say, for that season, Arsenal were fantastic, and you're right, they were really solid. But the worst game I've ever seen, the game that's just scarred me for life, was that Spurs semi-final. The '95 Cup Winners' Cup final in Paris was pretty bad, but that's my worst ever Arsenal game. What was? I mean, you scored that game in that day, didn't you?
Yeah, I got a goal just before half time to make it 2-1.
Yeah.
I remember at Colney a couple of days beforehand, the gaffer sat us down and he's gone, lads, I want your advice. I want your feedback. Should we man mark Gaza? And he never asked for advice of us, and we didn't want to. He was going to put Mickey Thomas on him. We thought, we're the better team. We're the team going for the title. Why are we man marking him? We thought it'd spoil our shape, and that's exactly what happened. Gaza was taking Mickey all over the shop. And then beforehand, he was going up the tunnel, Gaza. He was yapping away about cup final suits and all that. They'd heard that we'd got our cup final suits fitted, which we hadn't.
Yeah.
I mean, but it served their purpose, It certainly got him pumped up to do what he did. And we just didn't get going. They were hungrier, quicker to the ball, At 2-1, we've gone in, and you're thinking, come on, boys, let's have a good 45 minutes now, second half, we can come back and win this. But we didn't. I remember Gary Lineker's second, it's come off my hip and bounced onto him, and he's jabbed it in, and I was gutted about that. I didn't think I reacted quickly enough, but I remember Gaz's free kick whistling past my ear, And Dave Seaman apologised at half-time, saying, sorry, lads, Mustard got caught in the turf. I couldn't quite take off, because you didn't used to beat him from that distance.
Yeah. Obviously, fast forward a month, there was the glorious Man United game. Let's get back to good Arsenal results. That 3-1 that basically clinched. Obviously, Forest had beaten Liverpool earlier in the day, hadn't they? Yeah. And basically, that was Arsenal's nearest rivals. Arsenal handed the title, basically, mathematically. Liverpool couldn't catch up. Arsenal were champions by the time that game started, and you obviously got a hat-trick against Man United. That's a bit of a fairy tale.
I mean, we always used to meet up at South Hearts Golf Club for pre-match and drive down to Highbury from there. I think I shared a car with Dave O'Leary. He put his usual little favourite tapes on, bit of Abbey,
I've got to ask, what other music did he have as well?
Dolly Parton. No, actually, we heard on the radio. So we've got the radio on, and we've heard the result from Nottingham Forest. And there's fans there at Highbury, in party mood. It's brilliant. And then the boys have gone out for the warm up with wigs on and this, that, and the other, just messing about. George just about tolerated it. He probably wasn't happy, He was happy that we'd won at the end of it, He wouldn't have wanted to see a sloppy performance. But really, United, they were in the Cup Winners' Cup, weren't they, the following week? They'd given us a guard of honour, and they weren't exactly at full throttle. So it worked perfectly for us. And I said to Lee beforehand, if we do get a penalty, can I have it? He was a penalty taker, wasn't he? And I was going for the golden boot again, and good lad, he let me have it. That was only one or two penalties in my career that I took and scored.
What was the other one?
2 out of 2. Millwall League Cup penalty shootout.
Oh, 92, 93, yeah.
And it was a similar penalty, I think, top left. So I was gunning with Lee Chapman, and I think Niall Quinn at Man City wasn't far behind, but I just pipped Chappie for the golden boot with that, and then I scored it against Coventry on the last day as well. Yeah,
that 6-1, that was a good day as well.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, obviously 2 golden boots in 3 years, 2 league titles in 3 years.
Yeah.
England recognition as well.
Yeah.
Would you say that was the peak, the height of your career at that stage?
Oh yeah, easy, yeah. Can't get much higher really. I was involved with England. Went to the '92 European Championships, which didn't go so well for anybody. But yeah, I was always kind of a streaky goal scorer. You know, once they started, didn't feel like they were going to stop. I had some droughts, you know, but when you do have the droughts, you're always mindful of you've got to contribute.
Yeah.
And, you know, my final 2 or 3 years, that's what I had to do because I wasn't scoring nowhere near as many goals as I was.
Yeah, absolutely. Just on that England game, you obviously you sort of played it down there, but you were substituted. You came on, didn't you, for Gary Lineker's last of the game? Did you ever, when you bump into him on the circuit, did you ever sort of chat about that?
Did we chat about it? No. I remember Graham Taylor saying to me and Alan Shearer, "Get warmed up, lads, get warmed up." And you're wondering who's going on. And then when Alan come back, I've got there first, got my tracky top off, you know, and he might have been calling Alan Shearer back. No, he wanted me to go on. And I thought, I'm going to go on and partner Gary Lineker here. Obviously, rekindled the Leicester partnership. Yeah. But then when Gary's number came up and he's coming off, you shake his hand, but you haven't got any time to think about it. You know, you've got a job to do. Yeah. England desperately, we needed a goal. But I'd hardly got a kick before Thomas Brolin got a wonderful goal. You know, and that was it, we were out. So, yeah, that was... Everyone goes on about Gary Lineker's last game for England. Nobody mentioned it. I didn't get quite so many caps or have quite such a career for my country as him. We gave him a round of applause afterwards in the dressing room because we all knew that was it for him. Yeah. You know, fantastic England career. But it was a horrible way to go out because we hadn't played well at all in that tournament. Yeah, absolutely. Fast forward to 91-92.
Champions League or European Cup, Arsenal were sort of in amongst the sort of favourites. Benfica. Well, you scored 4 goals against Austria Vienna in the round before, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Was there a feeling that Arsenal could have done something that year in terms of the European Cup?
Well, yeah. I mean, when you beat Austria Vienna by that amount, you're thinking, yeah, let's have a go at this, you know. But then we got done by Benfica, and that's when George changed his tactics and played 4-3-3, and that led to the Cup Winners' Cup. He just thought we were too open, so that was another little tactical masterstroke. You know, we played 4-4-2 on the Saturday. Monday morning we'd be in at Colney, practising on that shape, 4-3-3. Yeah. Different role for me, leading the line on my own with Merce, Righty, Kev Campbell, 2 of the 3 either side, you know. Yeah. Benfica mugged us that night. Yeah,
Isaias and Uran, wasn't it? A 3-1 hybrid. That was a real pivotal game, like you say, because it was it marked the signal of it marked the change in terms of the attacking formations that Graham used to do. It was far more defensive after that, arguably. 92-93. I mean, Arsenal finished 10th. They obviously won two cup finals. What are your memories of that?
League Cup not great. Didn't get on. Right. You know, this was a time when I was struggling and I was vying with Kev Campbell really for a place in the team. So, hated that day really. I mean, it was great to see the boys win. But, you know, you've not been involved, you've not been playing well. It's not, we were more concerned with Stevie Morrow really at the end than anything. Cup final, the replay, I got on last half hour on Saturday, then the replay I started, set up Wrighty's goal, which I was pleased about. Didn't have a great game. I remember the gaffer bollocking me for most of it for not holding the ball up. But we won. I'd always dreamed of winning the FA Cup on a sunny Saturday at Wembley, and then it was a rainy Thursday night, you know. Yeah. So it wasn't quite how we'd all planned it, but, you know, at the end of it, you've got an FA Cup winners' medal, so that's lovely. Did
getting booked slightly detract from... Nah. Because there's that story you sort of you said something to the ref like, you know, I've never been booked or something. Do you know?
No, Gary Lineker says that. I said that at Leicester. Well, I did get booked, but it never went through.
Right, okay.
I never got anything in the post. So, no, I remember the fans going, "Oh, they're not going to book Smudge, are they? You know, you can't do that." But I mean, it was ungentlemanly conduct, delaying the taking of a free kick. I was on the ground and I've just knocked the ball away with my hand to get into position, so it's booked me for it. A bit harsh, I thought, but I had it framed. It's up in the toilet.
Have you really? Brilliant. Fantastic. I know you're busy blokes, so we'll keep this brief. But obviously, the year after that, 94, was the European Cup Winners' Cup run and triumph. And your goal in a memorable night in Copenhagen. I was there along with a lot of other Arsenal fans. What are your memories of that run?
The memories of it.
It was a 7-0 in Liège early on.
Yeah, I scored the first, then I sprained my ankle, had to come off. Torino was a bit of a grind.
Yeah.
Over there in the Stadio delle Alpi,
Yeah, 0-0.
Raining,
Yeah.
horrible game.
Yeah.
And then it's just the 1-0 at Highbury, wasn't it? So I got past that. And then, of course, PSG.
Yeah.
Over in Paris. Half time, the fans start singing 1-0 to the Arsenal, don't they? To the Pet Shop Boys and all that. That's when it started. Yeah. Great result out there, 1-1 against a good PSG team with David Ginola. You know, he got a near post header from a corner. Baldy and Tony had been giving him grief all night, and he's gone back to give them some back. He's gone away to celebrate and then turn around and give him a mouthful, which was quite funny. And then at Highbury, Kev Campbell getting an early goal, then of course Wrighty getting balked, and Wrighty being in tears at half time. We've had to calm him down. Did a great job for the team second half to get us through to the final. So final itself, obviously, massive underdogs with our suspensions, with Wrighty, who was our chief goal getter to say the least then, and Martin Keown injured, John Jensen out, you know, Ian Selly, Stevie Morrow, part of our three-man midfield against half of Italy's World Cup side that summer, and Brolin, who was a very good player, Asprilla and Gianfranco Zola, you know, miracle really. But when I got the goal, you fancy us because, you know, I think Tony says that back four was at its peak probably with Dave Seaman at that time. Yeah. We did ride our luck, let's be fair, with one or two things, but great to do it because Arsenal had only won one European competition, hadn't they, the Fairs Cup. So lovely to do it on the European stage. Different sort of challenge for all the lads, you know, man marking and the way teams play against you, shirt pulling and that. I know it's rife now in the Premier League, but that kind of marking you didn't get so much because you were playing against British lads in the main in the first division and that. So to finish up on top, because there were not good teams in that competition, Real Madrid, really, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, great night, really good night, and to get the only goal and a good goal at that, yeah, that was satisfying because it came at a time when I wasn't enjoying the football. It was a real struggle, so that was nice.
And obviously your career was winding down after that, 94, 95, I don't think you played many games, and that was your last season, wasn't it, really? But looking, was that right? Yeah.
Well, I got injured in the January.
Right, okay.
I played a fair bit up until January, but I got injured at the New Den, Millwall, tore my cartilage, and then there was bone damage, and I didn't play again from that day. Right. 3rd of Jan, something like that. Yeah.
Looking back on your career, I mean, you must take an awful lot of pride in certainly playing for Arsenal and obviously Leicester as well. But what are your if someone to say to you, what are your memories of playing for the Arsenal? What would be the thing that stands out more than anything?
Well, you know, winning. Anfield stands out.
Yeah.
Because of the circumstances, but to have played for a club of Arsenal's stature and, you know, the history, it's such a proud thing to look back on, you know, and to have been the centre forward for the majority of my 8 years there. Yeah. Very proud. But, you know, luck plays a big part in football, and I joined at a great time. You know, better players than me have won a lot less. So I'm very thankful for things panning out the way they did, you know. Met some great friends, and you know, those memories, they're priceless.
Fantastic. Once an Arsenal man, always an Arsenal man. Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Alan.
Pleasure, mate.
Thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
Cheers, mate.